Good day everyone. We are Group 6 and the reporter of Module 6 about using demographics to guide global marketing strategy. And I am your first reporter. My name is Joanne Abalos. I will discuss what is demographic and caution about demographic profiling in global market. So we need to define first what is demographic. Demographic, it refers to statistical information about the characteristic of population. And whether marketing to the domestic or international market, demographic information can provide important insight about a target market and how to address consumer needs. Marketers typically combine several variables to create a demographic profile for a target market. A demographic profile is a term used in marketing and broadcasting to describe a demographic grouping or a market segment. A demographic profile also provides enough information about typical members of a group to create a mental features of these hypothetical aggregates. For example, a marketer might speak of the single, female, middle class, age 18 to 24, or college-educated demographic. In examining demographics, typically have two objectives in mind. First, to segment the market by determining which subgroup exists in the overall population. Second, to create a clear, complete pictures of characteristic display by typical members of each segment. Once you gathered information by the use of demographic profiling, marketers can use them to develop the targeting strategy and complying marketing strategy and marketing plan. With demographic profile about target segment, marketers evaluate the marketing mix. They make recommendations about whether to change, decrease, or increase the goods or service they offered. Based on demographic data, marketers can adjust product features, distribution, strategy, or other factors in order to reach market segment that has the most potential. A demographic profile can be useful in determining the promotional mix and how to achieve maximum result. My second report is caution about demographic profiling in global market. Demographic profiling is essential and exercise in making generalization about a group of people. Demographic information is aggregate and offer probabilistic data about group, not specific for individuals. Critics of demographic profiling argue that such broad brush generalization can only offer limited insights. Marketers also be careful to avoid interpreting demographic information using the mindset of their own culture. For example, the generalization that apply to teens 9 to 12 years old in the US may not apply to all children in the same age in other geographies. And assumption about social class affect consumer preference may vary different in socially mobile society versus one with very rigid separation between groups from different social classes. Marketing research should seek to understand and complete features of how demographic characteristics tend to influence consumer behavior in a given market, rather than simply applying a stereotype from somewhere. That's all my report. Thank you for listening.
Good day everyone, I'm Rainer Benagra from BSBA MN22. My topic for today is about the demographic environment. First, what is demographic environment? From the word itself, demography is the study of human populations in terms of size, density, location, age, gender, race, occupation, and other statistics. Also, demography provides and measures specific information about different populations such as their age, gender, their status, income, and social class. Next is why demographic environment is important. Demography is very important because it involves people, the people who make up markets. The population is growing at an explosive rates. This population explosion has been a major concern of governments and various groups, and also in any international marketing environment, domestic or international. Demographic factor plays an important role in determining market and also help address consumer needs. Consumer behavior in demographics refer to statistical information about the characteristics of a population.
I'm Rosemary Corrado from BSB MM22 and my report is all about the population size and composition. But first, demographic is a study of population based on factors such as age, race, gender, and so on and so forth. Population size is defined as the number of individuals present in subjectively designated geographic range. Population size refers to the density of individuals within different size of classes of a population. For the purpose of estimating production, breaking down a population into size classes is essential for applying methods used in estimating growth and the loss of individuals over time due to mortality, as well as providing a convenient way for estimating biomass. Size classes can be defined arbitrarily on the basis of body length or head capsule width, or they can be based on criteria such as instar on developmental indicators. The most fundamental demographic parameter is the number of individuals within a population. For example, the size of the country is estimated by counting the numbers of the people in that country. Another example is if the size of your own barangay is estimated by counting the numbers of all the people living in your own barangay. And also, the size of population can affect the supply and demand in that location. The more the the bigger the population, the more the supply and demand are increasing. Next, the expansion in the size increases the consumption needs and the amount of labor. Next is the composition. The population composition is the descriptions of the characteristic of a group of people in terms of factors such as their age, their gender, their marital status, education, occupation, and relationship to the head of household. Of this, the age and sex composition of any population are most widely used. The numbers and proportion of male and females in each age group have considerable impact on the population current and future social economic situation. Since the composition of population can be accessed by classifying it by using different criteria such as age composition and generation. For example, in the population of child, the age around is 0 to 14 years old. The population of working people is at a range around the 16 to 64, while the population of the aged people it could be in 65 and above people. And that's all for my report.
Good afternoon, everyone. This is Marina Tosa from BSBA MM22, a reporter from Group 6, and the assigned topic for me is about race, ethnicity, religion, and language. So first, let's talk about the race and ethnicity. Race is defined as a category of humankind that shapes certain distinctive physical traits. The term ethnicity is more broadly defined as large group of people class according to common racial, national, tribal, religious, linguistic, or cultural origin or background. The world population can be divided into four major races, namely white or Caucasian. Next is Mongoloid or Asian. The third one is Negroid or Black. And the last one is Australoid. Australoid. The most widely human types are those based on visual traits, such as skin color, cranial, facial features, and type of hair. The difference between these two is race describes physical traits, and the ethnicity refers to cultural identification. And race may also be identified as something you inherit, while the ethnicities are something you learn. The ethnic marketing is defined that comprises all marketing efforts and instruments used to target specific ethnic groups within a society to satisfy their particular needs. The reason for ethnic marketing. First is new opportunities in competitive markets. Why? Because competitive pressure has increased in most industries wherein companies seek for novel ways to become profitable and build customer loyalty. So that ethnic marketing represents an opportunity to differentiate a company's offering in saturated marketplaces and develop new products. The next one is size and buying power. An ethnic minority is 30% of the US population. In the next 20 years, African American will increase by 20%, and Asian Americans by 68%, and Hispanic Americans by 64%. The combined buying power of African Americans, Asian Americans, and Native Americans exceeds $1.3 trillion, a gain of 230% from 1990. So basically, ethnic groups are sizable segment that has the ability to buy. The third one is breakdown and concentration. In March 2002, 37.4 million Hispanic, it equals 13.3% of US population, 36 million Black Americans, or 13% of US populations, 12.5 million Asian, or 4.4 of US population of ethnic groups tend to live in more tightly knit communities, where referrals carry even more weight than in the general population. In the top 10 US Hispanic markets, you can reach about 45% of Hispanic population. The top 10 African Americans markets contain about 39% of the population. It means that marketing segments are actionable and identifiable. The fourth one is other characteristic. Research has found that 70% of Hispanics do read their direct email, and 35% want more. The people of same ethnic cultures, including Americans of Hispanic, Japanese, and Korean descent, are highly brand loyal. And ethnic minorities outspend Caucasian shoppers in some product ranges. It is African Americans spend 51% more on boys' clothing. Latinos outspend the general market by 67% on apparel for children and younger. Means that there is willingness to buy within ethnic segment. Techniques in ethnic marketing. First is targeting. Ethnic marketing targets the psychographic key and the three R's, which is respect, relevance, and recognition. Also, includes the contacting ethnic groups for marketing purposes, cultural cues in advertising, and word of mouth and grassroots marketing is use of media, such as newspaper ads, billboards, and buzzboards, which is the same message is used as in the direct mail campaign, but without a call to action. Radio to useful support tool in markets where there are ethnic stations, especially where trying when trying especially when trying to reach a younger crowd. Next is visibility, wherein getting involved in community events in areas with high concentrations of the ethnic markets you're targeting. Lastly, contact with association, where each nationality has unique differences even among speakers of same language. An example of this is the Heineken beer, which their market share trend in early 1990s. Largest import of two times, and by 2002, Corona selling 50% more than Heineken. An information from Heineken Senior VP Marketing, the demographics for beer market are changing that the Hispanic and African Americans will be bigger in size than Caucasian in 2030, and also focusing on these everything targetable groups. What have they do? They launch ad campaign featuring Jay-Z. Jay-Z is a trendsetter and opinion leader and fashion as well as music and an authentic consumer insight critical. They want to target urban lifestyle so that Heineken has a brand manager for urban segment. Urban, not demographic but psychographic that focuses in fusion of African American, Caucasian, and Hispanic culture in the ages of 21 to 34 years old, where 30 to 50 million is about 50% not in cities, and $300 billion buying power. Why is ethnic marketing important for the Heineken? Because African Americans were an underpenetrated market for Heineken. Also, African Americans are driver of the urban mindset, the urban becoming a mainstream. In conclusion, it builds market share among African Americans and an ancillary benefit of targeting mainstream consumers. For an overall conclusion, some failures in the past pointed out the importance of ethnic marketing. But ethnic marketing is just the latest trend in market segmentation and targeting. Lastly, identifying your customer and satisfying their needs remains the key to a success. Lastly, identifying your customers and satisfying their needs remains the key to a successful marketing strategy. So let's talk about religion. Religion categories in demographic classification also vary across countries. In India, major religions are Hindu, Christian, Muslim. Business organizations take care of the religious segment while designing their products. Why is religion important when marketing products and service internationally? It is important for marketers to understand influence of religion on consumer culture in the markets where they operate so that the marketing activity can be appropriately sensitive. Failing to respect religious beliefs or culture can seriously undermine the reputation of a company or brand. Is depending on the major language spoken in a particular country. The classification of population according to language also varies across countries. Example is regional radio stations. Why is it important? It is important because a good marketing communication brings your customers in the door and keeps them coming back for more. And a good marketing communication is highly tailored to your specific audience and their motivation. Taking the time to understand your global audience will help you form more authentic connection with them. So that is for my report, and thank you so much for listening.
Good morning. I am the next reporter for today. Next subtopic is about education and occupation. First, let's proceed with education. Actually, the education level is often tied to consumer preferences, standard of living, as well as income of a particular individual that tends to influence his buying decisions. Also, after subdividing the consumer market, based based on education level, it creates two groups, which is educated and uneducated consumer segments. The educated group is subclassified further into elementary, high school, associate degree, bachelor, master's, and doctorate. So, it is important because it helps companies to to target an exact set of customers having similar education backgrounds and use such information for market research and product targeting. We all know that certain products or services are meant only for a specific set of audience with a certain educational qualification. In addition, educational attainment also affects the kind of job an individual might have. The next one is occupation. Every country have been using different occupation classification because we don't have the same cultures, level of economic development, perception, etc. The occupation of the consumers can greatly influence their buying decisions. In fact, businesses use this data for targeting and pricing their products. Okay, so the next one is occupation. Every country have been using different occupation classification because we don't have the same cultures, level of economic development, etc. The occupation of the consumers can greatly influence their buying decisions. In fact, businesses use this data for targeting and pricing their products, and some companies focus on making products that satisfy the needs of a certain occupational group. For example, blue-collar workers tends to buy more rugged work clothes while executives buy more business suits. Another example is a CEO buy luxury cars, expensive clothes, and subscribe to a golf club membership, while a teacher will purchase books, papers, pencils, or ball pens as well as lower price clothes. Knowing whether or not you are targeting a group that can afford your products and services is really important. You don't want to market a luxury car to someone who can barely afford a used clunker. Remember that the more focused your demographic is, the better you can speak to their emotions and get them to buy. That's all, thank you. I am Charmaine M. Jugalias from BSBM 22 and from the group 6. Thank you for listening.
Hello, my name is Lance Noel Abrabon III from BSBM 2-2, and today we're going to discuss about income and gender composition. Income and gender composition. But first we're going to start about income. Income, being a primary measure of the well-being of a person, influences his or her purchasing power and choices. Income can also be aggregate income of a person or per capita income. Brands specifically develop and position within particular income segments to maximize turnover and profit. For example, Rolls-Royce cars and Tata Nano. Gender composition. One of the basic characteristics of demography, the gender composition reflects the underlying social, economic, and cultural patterns of a society. Gender classification of population is often analyzed by business as men and women have different psychological and physiological needs and they shop differently. Such segmentation is widely used within cosmetics, clothing, and magazine industry. For example, fair and handsome, fair and lovely, and femina. There are also findings from gender composition. The results suggest significant differences on level of external marketing effectiveness between all female boards and all male and gender diverse boards. Female boards indicate high level of external marketing effectiveness on customer perceived value, loyalty, satisfaction, brand performance, and symbolic meaning. The study concludes that marketing effectiveness will only be achieved by the firms that develop relevant marketing strategies for the female consumer market. And that is all. Thank you for listening and
Hi guys, I'm Chloe Andreaño from BSBA MM22. I am going to discuss about the family life cycle. Family life cycle is a method for separating the aspects of the family market at different stages of life. According to the Tutor2U website, the family life cycle marketing model was created in the 1960s by Wells and Gruber. The marketing technique takes the size of a person's family into consideration, along with the potential customer's age and professional status. Family life cycle expressed as bachelor, married with no children, fullness, and emptiness. First is the bachelor or the young and single. It includes those who are unmarried and do not have any children, as well as same-sex couples, whether or not the couple has children, according to the marketing teacher website. This demographic is most interesting in buying fashionable clothing and vehicles. People in the young and single category will also buy basic kitchen appliances and basic furnitures. These consumers make several purchases that will make them attractive to a potential mate as well, such as designer cologne, facials, or hair salon services. Next is married with no children or the newlyweds. According to the Tutor to You website, couples who are newly married with no children are in better financial shape than they will be once they have kids. However, these couples may have just entered into a mortgage commitment, which means they may cut their spending on vanity items. People in the newlywed category may purchase high-end furniture that will last for years, along with life insurance as a precautionary tool to keep their potentially growing family financially safe. Next is fullness. Families in fullness has three classification. First is the fullness one. Families in the fullness one classification have more children in home than adults. The kids in the house are all younger than 6. The parents rely primarily on credit for purchases and buy mainly household necessities. The Tutor to You website asserts that people purchase home-related items that most during the fullness 1 stage. Next is fullness 2. Fullness 2 families have children 6 and older. The house is still dominated with children, but these individuals tend to have a little more control over their finances, as wives who took off work to raise children are likely returning to work around this time. Necessities such as groceries and children's clothing are still the main purchases in these homes. Last is, when a family reaches fullness 3 status, its children are older, and in many cases, the children in the family are also working or in college. A large portion of the family's money goes to fund the children's education, and parents are more likely to buy high-end furniture items and purchase vacation packages. The last stage is emptiness. Emptiness has two classifications. First is the emptiness 1. Emptiness 1 families have adult children who are no longer living at home. Home ownership is very common for this group. Those in the emptiness category are very likely to spend money on vacations and hobbies and have plenty of retirement money saved. Next is the emptiness 2. Emptiness 2 families have taken a reduction in income as the breadwinner is retired. People in this category most likely spend significant money on medical care and prescriptions and will often assist their children and grandchildren financially. Let's move on to the next topic. Distribution. Distribution of population depicts the density in a particular area. Population density is estimated per square mile of land area and measured by the following formula. Total population of the area over size of the area equals to the population density. Population density is an important indicator of quality of life. And that's all for my report. Let's move on to the next reporter. Thank you.
So good day everyone, my name is Jovelyn Viernesa and my report is all about the determinants of demography. So fertility, mortality, and migrations are the principal determinants of how a population can change. So determinants of demography, sa number 1 ay fertility. So yung typical measurement na ginagamit sa fertility ay yung crude birth rate. So, ang formula nito ay crude birth rate equal number of live births in the year divided by the total population times 1,000. Next naman yung mortality and life expectancy. Sa mortality and life expectancy, yung ginagamit naman na measurement ay crude death rate. So, yung formula naman nito ay crude death rate equal number of death in the year divided by the total populations times 1,000. Next naman yung infant mortality rate. So, yung infant mortality rate, yung ano naman ito, yung formula ay number of deaths of infant of less than 1 year divided by the total population times 1,000. So, yung crude birth rate and crude death rate are statistical values that can be used to measure the growth or decline of a population. Next naman yung immigration. Immigration, this is the movement of people from one area to another. So, yung formula ng immigration rate ay number of people entering a region divided by the total population times 1,000. Next naman is yung emigration rate. So, yung emigration rate naman, ito yung process of leaving one country to take up a permanent or semi-permanent residence in one another. So, yung formula naman ito ay number of people living a region divided by the total population times 100. Yan po. Thank you.
Uses of demographic profile by business organization. Number 1 uses is the production analysis. Number 2, establishing selling outlets. Number 3, determining advertising and communication strategies. And number 4 is strategic planning. So the disadvantage naman is the business is at risk of alienating people who fall between the categories. And next, if market research is flawed, the campaign could be targeting the wrong people. So the conclusion, the business management involves management of people. Efficiency of business depends largely on the competency and motivation of its people. The demographic environment differs from country to country and from one place to another within the country. Thus, the demographic factor should be clearly analyzed as it very significant implication for business organization.